Good morning, guys. Thank you for coming back to another one of my videos. We are watching the most horrific and scary death in human history. Let's get right into it.
In 2014,
I lied. Chill out.
Brad Byers set a Guinness World Record for swallowing a dozen swords at once. He even managed to turn them in his throat. But death came to the unlucky trickster with another object, not even a sharp one. The young Canadian magician decided to
Okay. This video is gonna be wild. A dude decided to swallow a dozen swords. I wouldn't even try to swallow one. Your neck gotta be broke. You gotta be like, and then shove them down your mouth. And he's doing it with an umbrella. But he needs
to shove an umbrella down his throat, and he accidentally pressed the button. The open umbrella blocked the poor man's windpipe and didn't allow him to pull it out. Instead of applause from the audience, he received painful asphyxia.
He opened the umbrella after he put it in his mouth. Just imagine that. You put something in your mouth, right? And you press the button and it opens. The umbrella opens in your stomach. That's ripping all the organs and everything. I'm assuming, because that's what makes sense.
But a terrible and sophisticated death can happen not only to magicians, but to any of us. In the tropics, you can meet many deadly predators. But in this sleepy Brazilian town of Caratinga, a wild cow attacked a farmer. One night in July 2013, Juan Maria de Souza came home after a hard day in the fields and went to bed with his wife. He closed the doors properly so that some wild animals wouldn't get into the house. But it didn't help. In the middle of the night, they heard an almighty crash. And the next moment, from a height of 2.5 meters, a 1.5-ton cow fell on the spouses. It strayed from the herd and wandered onto the farmhouse roof.
How did the cow get on the roof? How did the cow get on the roof? Because cows don't be jumping. Cows don't know how to jump. Take that back. Yeah, they do. No. That's wild. How did the cow get on the roof? If y'all know how a cow can even do that, let me know. Because that's shocking news to me.
From the hill nearby, Juan was taken to the hospital with a broken leg, but unexpectedly passed away. The autopsy showed that the strong blow from the cow caused severe internal bleeding. But at least Juan's family had a body to bury. In November 2000, a bloody tragedy shook a Zimbabwean village. Local resident Tendai Maseka didn't have time to get to the toilet as he was literally torn into pieces. Early in the morning, the police found his remains in the bushes. Experienced officers wouldn't be surprised by an ordinary corpse, but only arms, legs, and a head were left on this poor fellow. Witnesses said Maseka was having
the legendary
Pause. Imagine going through that. And you have to, like, your family has to see your body like that. All I have is a head for you and some legs. How did that even manage to happen? Let's watch the video and find out.
Time at a local bar the night before. Suddenly, at about 11 p.m., he was caught short and went to the outhouse. Soon, blood-curdling screams were heard from the street. For the African police, this story was quite familiar. Maseka was attacked and dragged into the bushes by bloodthirsty creatures we're not used to considering as a threat. These scavengers attack in packs and eat prey on the spot until they're driven off. That's right, unlike lions, hungry hyenas don't bite through the victim's throat, ending their suffering. They eat it alive, starting from the stomach. The remains of the gutted Maseka were buried in a closed coffin. The killer hyenas were soon found and shot, although the brutal killings didn't end. To this day, thousands of deaths are on account of these creatures in Africa. But while most of us live far from the dangerous tropics, many other unexpected dangers prey on our lives. Even more terrible and ridiculous deaths threaten inhabitants of the concrete jungle. Canadian lawyer Harry Hoy killed himself in the early 90s after a seemingly innocuous question from an intern. His law firm was located on the 24th floor of the Toronto Dominion skyscraper. On July the 9th, 1993, Hoy was giving a tour to a new group of junior associates. One of them went to drink water for a couple of minutes, and when he returned, for some reason, everyone applauded Hoy as if he were a rock star. So the intern asked what had happened. Instead of answering, Harry Hoy looked at the large window in front of him and then suddenly took off, ran, and jumped. It turned out that the lawyer did his favorite trick in front of new employees every now and then. He hit the glass with a running start to prove how strong it was, and every time, the window just pushed him back. But this time...
Okay, that's dumb. I mean, I'm not trying to shed any type of anything on this dude for dying. But why would you run into a window 23 stories up and jump at it? Why would you jump at a window 23 stories up? Whether I know it's gonna break or not, I would not jump in it. Well, he knows next for next time.
The heavy-duty window flew out of the frame. It only broke at the bottom, along with Harry. Well, at least Harry died quickly, and that can't be said about the guy who was cooked alive by the mixer. Vincent Smith had a dream job. He worked at a candy factory in New Jersey. On July the 9th, 2009, the guy, as usual, was loading raw materials into a huge tank when suddenly his colleagues noticed that he had disappeared somewhere. And when they looked into the tank, just in case, they saw that the enormous blades of the mixer had caught Vincent and pulled him in and down. He was boiling alive in melted chocolate at a temperature of 120 degrees for several minutes until he suffocated. Now, we all know that sweets are bad for us, but not to that extent. A student at the Chinese University of Huachao died painfully trapped in an elevator. On that fateful evening of September the 14th, 2014, a young guy had been waiting for an elevator to his campus floor for a long time. So when the elevator finally arrived, the young man hurried to get in. But when the guy stepped into it, it suddenly went up. The student didn't have time to jump back and was instantly squeezed between floors. And from the first moment when he got stuck, tens of kilograms of pressure fell on his diaphragm as the elevator was still trying to go up. University's security guards immediately called the repair service, but when they rescued the victim, he was no longer breathing. The elevator had been painfully strangling the unfortunate young man for half an hour. But even killer elevators can't match the sophistication of another seemingly safe type of transport. Railroads can easily show you the light at the end of the tunnel. In June 2022, a Berlin teenager died from running into a semaphore. Is it possible he was moving so fast that he couldn't turn away? Okay, the thing is, the guy was running on the roof of a moving train, and this time, in addition to the usual poles on the sides of the road, there was a large semaphore with a crossbar on the way. The 15-year-old boy died from shock after the rupture of internal organs in just a couple of minutes. And on April the 9th, 2016, an adult Briton invented the railway guillotine. He clung to the side of an inner-city train, and a peer rushing past the train completely cut off his head. And 17-year-old Asia Leishan Ferguson had his head blown off with a powerful kick. On June 28, 2008, a guy illegally entered the restricted area of the Six Flags amusement park in Georgia by climbing over two high fences. Suddenly, an unusual silhouette started rapidly approaching him, but unfortunately, it was not an amusement park guard. It was a roller coaster with passengers hanging down. At a speed of 85 miles per hour, one of the passengers involuntarily turned into a karate master and literally knocked Asia's head with a kick of inhuman strength. The irony was that the guy had crawled under the tracks trying to find his hat, which had blown off from a strong wind. Now he no longer needed the hat, and the passenger who beheaded Asia needed surgery to reconstruct his legs. But 18-year-old Romanian Anna Ursu managed to die on a train that wasn't going anywhere, all because of the love of beautiful shots. The girl used to take hundreds of pictures per day, but most of the pictures seemed too simple for her. Anna wanted to take the ultimate selfie that would kill everyone on social media. In search of just such a shot, Anna went to the station and climbed onto the roof of a standing electric train. Anna was unaware that death literally hung over her the second she got there.
Because that is dumb. You're laying on top. You could have easily avoided this. I mean, rest in peace to this woman. But you could have easily avoided this. You're laying on top of a train, kicking your feet like, oh, ha, 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 just to take a selfie. That could have been avoided.
And was only waiting for the right moment. It all happened suddenly when the girl decided to lift her leg for a flirtatious look. And although she didn't touch the high voltage wires, they were close enough for Anna to be struck by 27,000 volts. Witnesses said the girl instantly lit up like a bonfire. Soon, she died in the hospital, but oddly enough, not due to cardiac arrest from a powerful electric shock. The selfie hunter was killed by burns that covered half her body. And if you think this is the most terrible or ridiculous death, just wait. In May 1891, Kentucky resident James Hatcher.
Why would you wear pajama pants for the day? Where do you plan on going? Like out? I would get dressed. I want to put pajama pants on. This dude's talking about some. This dude's talking about some. Should I wear pajama pants? I'm going out today. You going out? Nah. Yeah, I'm going out. Oh wait, why the hell would you wear pajama pants then? Alright, he's wearing pajama pants. I can't say nothing because I'll be wearing shorts everywhere.
Had to bury his wife twice. It all started when the Hatcher's son died just a few hours after his birth. Because of the incredible grief, James' wife Octavia fell into a deep depression and didn't get out of bed for months. But when she seemed to be getting better, one morning in May, she just didn't wake up. The doctor was called to the house, stated cardiac arrest, and James, heartbroken with double grief, arranged a funeral. However, the inexplicable and sudden death of his wife haunted Hatcher. He refused to believe it, and then, hoping for a miracle, he decided to dig up the coffin. The rich interior of the coffin was torn to shreds. Octavia's fingernails were torn down to the bone, but most importantly, a grimace of horror froze on her face. Apparently, she really came back to life and tried to get out, although the doctors swore to James that his wife had no pulse before the burial. While investigating this case, the doctors soon discovered that other locals also started falling into an extremely deep sleep, so deep that they couldn't be awakened. It was only then that they realized they were dealing with an outbreak of sleeping sickness, usually uncommon in the
Enlisted is the free brand new.
We're just gonna let that ad play. I just want to thank you guys for 157 subscribers. We are so close to 160, and I just made that goal yesterday. I know we could get there, and I'm so grateful for you guys. Like, to know that 157 people like my content that much that they subscribe to my channel, that means a lot. So thank you guys. Now let's get back to it. Hold up. Boom.
States caused by the bites of tropical tsetse flies. A tiny insect took Octavia to her grave alive. Upon waking up, she could stay alive in a closed coffin from 10 minutes to up to a day and a half. Just imagine the horror that she had to experience. Even if Octavia managed to break through the coffin lid, she would just be covered with dirt. As a result, James Hatcher had to bury Octavia again, only this time he built a large tombstone for her with a warning to anyone too hasty to bury their loved ones. But the brave crews of submarines are always ready for the fact that their ship would become a mass grave at the very bottom of the ocean. And only once in history, the sea brutally killed an entire team at a depth of just a couple of meters. For deep sea divers, this isn't even considered a dive. They work at great depths, and in order to not go up every time, they live in capsules with special conditions for months. On the Byford Dolphin drilling rig in the North Sea, these crew quarters were also just a few meters underwater. On November the 5th, 1983, 4 divers rested in a compartment at a shallow depth while their colleagues outside were disconnecting a bell that had just been raised from deep water. But for a still unknown reason, the divers forgot to close just one damper. And if up to that point the pressure in the capsule reached as much as 9 atmospheres, now it was rapidly getting to a normal level. This is much worse than if you were thrown into space without a spacesuit. The blood of 3 divers in capsules instantly boiled, and those bubbles tore all the insides. But the 4th diver was even less fortunate. The blast wave from the decompression literally shot him out and smeared him along the corridor of the platform. Upon arrival, rescuers found the internal organs and bones of the poor man scattered within a radius of 10 meters. Explosive decompression really butchered him. The only consolation for the relatives was that all the divers died, though brutally, but instantly. But not only workers in extreme professions can die so terribly. A Ukrainian chemistry student was torn apart by chewing gum in 2009. This guy really liked sour gum, so at home he specially prepared a bowl of citric acid and dipped his gum in it before putting it in his mouth. Delicious. It's just that on the student's table, there were also bowls with various chemicals for experiments. So, one fateful day, the guy accidentally dipped his chewing gum into a composition of potassium. In his mouth, it began to react violently with his saliva, and when he closed his jaw, a loud explosion occurred. The guy remained sitting, but without his head. But in the rarest cases, nothing remains of a person at all. Just like during Aloha Airlines Flight 243 on April 28, 1988. When the liner was flying over the ocean at a height of Everest, a piece of fuselage shells suddenly fell off. Several dozen passengers suffered from that, but the flight attendant Clarabelle Lansing was just thrown out in a split second, and her body was never found. Which of these deaths?
Wow. Alright guys, which of those do you think is the worst? Comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're out of here.